Okay. Hello, everyone. Not that anyone's listening this early in the live. This is Paul, and I am going to be keeping my computer within view of the webcam because today's live stream is going to be all about looking at videos of mine that are more disliked than liked. And like I said, because my viewers don't usually tell me what I did wrong, I'm just going to make some guesses. It's called a comment section, guys. I'm even using comment sections in my own live stream, so I'm sure other people could do it. So if you guys know how to actually put up the footage of the video on the screen while I'm live streaming, that would be super helpful. But at the moment, I do not know how to do that. So just let me know, and we will see how this goes. So I'm going to go in reverse chronological order, from most recent disliked to the earliest, because my earliest are going to take a while to get to. And we'll see. Maybe you guys can say, oh, Paul, I know what the problem was. It's because your hair was too long. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the video. So we're not going to do Bowser's Inside Story because no one has watched that yet. That's not a shameless plug because I don't get paid for it. So we're going to start with Colors Zen. And if anyone is on this live stream right now, I'm currently looking at my YouTube page, so I will say hi to you as soon as I get back. And, oh shoot, I just remembered I gotta plug in my headphones to even make this hearable for you guys. Okay, change of plans. Gonna be using my computer's natural microphone. Okay, let's see. Make sure this is on. Testing. This is Paul. Come in. Okay. This will have to be good enough for the time being. So we are going to pop on some terrible videos of mine, at least according to my fans. What's this option? View on YouTube. Yes, we will view on YouTube. This is my Color Zen review. Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing to you Color Zen for the Nintendo Switch. I originally played this on the 3DS, and it was also on the Wii U. I actually found out about it thanks to the YouTuber The Wii Viewer, who always reviews the most obscure games on Nintendo platforms. And I was surprised when I went into the eShop that this game was actually free, when it actually did cost like about $1 or $2 on the 3DS eShop. So I thought, free, huh? Well, there's got to be some kind of gimmick. Sure enough, there was, but I'll get into that in a minute. Let's talk about the base game first. Oh. So, the tutorial already kind of flashed by. I think I see why people hated this video. It's because this is it was a mobile game. Then it came to the Wii U and 3DS, and apparently didn't do so well. So then it came over to the Switch, and it was more faithful to the mobile version. But that's not a reason to dislike an entire video. It just means you think I shouldn't be reviewing mobile games and calling them Switch games. I don't know. Let's continue. But in case your eyes sort of glazed over, because, it's my job as a YouTuber, well, volunteer job, to tell you guys about the game, I'm just going to do it anyway. So, basically, you control this cursor, which is easier said than done because the Pro controllers that I was using was ridiculously sensitive. Maybe it's because it's touch controls in mind, but it seemed like even the slightest movement of my fingers would cause the cursor to go all over the place. And then once you actually get it to connect with the color, then you have to get the colors to... My microphone went out at that point. Maybe some people are saying, Paul, you had a faulty microphone. Why didn't you just redo the script? Yada, yada. Match up with other colors and eventually fill the entire screen with the color that's of the border color, so that the entire screen is just one giant block of color. It's very satisfying to see the colors just mold together, kind of like color bombs for the Wii U.
Oh no!
I do hope I can eventually.
Oh no! The cardinal sin of mentioning a Wii U eShop game, because those are supposed to be so awful. Ugh.
Some video footage of it, because that was one of those games that it's like, I wish more people knew about it, but they were probably thinking, Paul, because you didn't have footage at the time, therefore it's not worth my time. The woes of technological advancement. Eventually, other gimmicks start being introduced into the mix, such as white shapes that you can use to fill the entire screen with either white or the color that's being thrown on it, or black colors, which drain something of its color, as well as shields that you can double tap to make sure that the color will not expand with the others, just to name a few. Now, it sounds...
I wonder if people thought that I was being racist, because I just mentioned black and white, and it's like, didn't even cross my mind when I was filming this. Ugh. People complain about the craziest things.
Really confusing, but once you actually sit down and play it, the game never forces you to go at anything other than your own pace. If you want to take your time and just leisurely take forever to overanalyze the level, you can do that. I mean, from what I heard, that's what Zen is anyway. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Paul, what is the catch that makes it so that this game is free on the Switch, but you have to pay for it on the 3DS and Wii U? Well, this isn't made by EA, but it does have microtransactions.
So I mentioned EA very casually because EA is like the king of loot boxes and microtransactions, even though I don't actually play that many EA games. So, I don't know. I'm just being honest, guys. I don't like paying for stuff when I don't have to.
Basically, let's say you're having a hard time on the level and you don't have access to, say, a walkthrough. So you really want to beat the level, and maybe you're like me, where you have this policy of, I gotta beat it so that I can review it. Well, the catch is that you start out with 3 skips, and whenever you fail a level, you see this little icon that says skips, and it has a number 3 next to it. So every time you use a skip, then you can just bypass a level that you're having too much trouble with. But once that number runs out, it says, do you want more skips? And if you click that icon, it'll take you to the Switch eShop. Then you can purchase between, I think, 1, 3, and 7 skips. And buying 7 skips is actually a pretty reasonable price. I only paid a little less than $2, which is what allowed me to get to the final level of this game and show it to you guys. There's also some variety packs that if you're tired of the levels in the base game, you can buy even more. I'm pretty sure a lot of the 3DS and Wii U games to begin with, but I'm not going to do accusations without sufficient proof. Suffice to say that you could beat the base game absolutely free, but if you're just not good enough, then that's where the microtransactions come in. And I'm not really sure what I think about that. Like, can you really say to your friends, hey, guess what? I beat Color Zen because I paid the developers enough to be able to beat it.
I think the problem there was, I think a lot of people, the people who are watching this might very well have been the people that got sucked into the loot crates of Star Wars Battlefront 2. So that's hey, they were sued for that. So if you have to pay to win, when you're playing by yourself, it's not that much of a cardinal offense compared to when you're actively competing against other people.
I don't know. I feel like as much as I like to hate on the Super Guide and the Nintendo series, I feel like it's a lot better than this because at least the Super Guide is free. Nevertheless, if you don't pay for it, a free experience like this on the Nintendo Switch, yeah, go ahead and gobble it up. A lot of people will probably be really soothed by the sound effects and The colors, me personally, I can't stand them because they remind me of a double date I was supposed to go on that never ended up going anywhere. And sometimes they remind me of bad video games, but maybe that's just me, and music tends to affect me like that. Maybe for you, you'll think, this is just like relaxing or doing the real life activity of Zen.
Double date.
So, yeah, it really all depends on how you want to spend your money. But if you're going to get the free version and just look up walkthroughs for levels that you're stuck on, I think Color Zen is worth a download. Otherwise, use caution. Think to yourself, is this kind of puzzle gameplay the type that I can easily get through? And that'll determine for yourself whether or not you want to buy it. Oh, and I also highly recommend you play in handheld mode because it was originally designed as a touch experience, and translating it to the Pro controller isn't always as seamless as you might think. So play it on the TV only if you're desperate for this kind of stuff to permeate your living room or whatever place you're playing this on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and remember that colors are highly symbolic, so they may be able to help you through a life problem. Bye!
If they disliked that video just because I did a cheesy joke, that's a pretty... I don't know what people are thinking there. Alright, well, let's move on to the next one for all of you 0 lovely viewers so far. Alright, we are moving on to... Let's see what we got. Oh, I'm doing pretty well for a while. I'm mostly at 66% rate, dislikes versus likes ratio. 50% there for Sonic the Hedgehog. That's still good enough. I'm not going to consider it dislike. Gradius. How do you pronounce it? Alright, let's type that in really quickly. Whoops, that's not it. Okay, here we go.
Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing to you Gradius. Gradius? What a weird name. Maybe they were just trying to appeal to people with many different accents? Anyway, today I'm going to be revealing...
Did they... I think maybe people thought I was being racist, but that's only 17 minutes in... or 17 seconds. Sorry. 17 seconds into the video. Like, shouldn't you watch the rest of the video before you make a comment like that?
This game for the NES, which I first played on the Nintendo Switch NES Online service, and I used my NES Classic Edition to capture footage of this, so it would be nice and big, and Nintendo wouldn't throw a hissy fit saying, "Oh no, you used our online service, how dare you?"
Well, thank goodness the Nintendo Creators Program no longer exists.
This type of shooter was really popular back in the 80s, that run around and blast everything in sight, even though there's no legitimate reason to. Unlike Galaga, this is where you're moving to the right instead of staying at the bottom of the screen and shooting at people on top of you. Instead, you always shoot to the right, and the more enemies you defeat, the more power-ups you can get. And these power-ups, you have 6 different options: speed up, missiles, lasers, double, option, which, why they're called options, I don't know. And finally, a front shield, which is listed as question mark for some reason, probably because it couldn't fit in the box. These can definitely make or break the game. As you can probably imagine, since this is on the NES, this game is very, very hard, especially considering the fact that it's a port of an arcade game. And you know how those games were. They tried to swallow as many quarters as possible out of your pockets.
So they
thankfully, I was able to beat this.
They probably hated on me because said people probably were a huge fan of the arcade themselves. Maybe they felt like I was guilt tripping them. I don't know.
Thanks to the many save states of the Nintendo Switch, because as you can probably tell by this footage, I'm kind of terrible at this game.
No, they're probably saying I'm
honestly,
terrible at it.
This is about the extent of what you're going to get. Now, granted, this isn't like Galaga, where it's basically just an endless shooter. What's impressive about Galaga is that it has a multitude of different locations that you can explore. Like, you have an area that kind of looks like a Mega Man zone, a volcano. You even get to infiltrate a sequence like Metroid and try to defeat this giant brain at one point. This movie also unintentionally plagiarizes Star Wars a lot. Like, there are several moments where you have to shoot inside a ship's core, and then the ending of the game is even basically a ripoff of the ending of Star Wars A New Hope. Nevertheless, this game is fun, albeit really on the hard side, and if you don't have an NES Classic Edition or the Nintendo Switch Online library, then you can get this pretty cheap on nearly every virtual console platform. I would recommend it if you're a diehard Twitch fan, but otherwise you can I
should have said Twitch finger fan, because I found out after I was recording this that Twitch is a streaming service. Oops.
Probably just skip it, as I've heard there have been some sequels that have been a lot bigger and better on other systems, and you might be better off just waiting for one of those. With that said, there's not really much more to say, apart from the game controls fine. Sometimes it's a bit slow, but just because it controls fine doesn't mean that the difficulty is eased up, because you certainly have to be able to dodge bullets on time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and make sure you have plenty of options, both the kind in a menu and the kind that follow your ship. Bye!
So then the footage ends with me just doing a little bit more shooting, because I'm basically saying, hey, this game was published by Konami, so therefore Nintendo can't do their Nintendo Creators Program bias against me. I don't think that would be a reason to dislike an entire video, though. And then I just did a Wii viewer and died. Ah, we got, hey! Who's Chris Angel? That, an actor or a singer? And welcome to the stream. Very interesting type of stream, but nevertheless, something I've been wanting to do ever since I made my Why the Dislike Button is Pointless to my channel. Oh, a magician, huh? Well, maybe I did. I mean, I've seen my fair share of magicians. So, just curious, how'd you find out about my channel? Let's see, what's the next one here? It's funny how YouTube does not remember which video I just left off on. Like, you'd think it would stop scrolling so far, but no, it doesn't do that. Okay, next up, wow, still going pretty good for a while. I don't play PS4 at all, but if I were to get one, it would be Final Fantasy 15, and that's it. Xbox 360, I play Sonic Generations like once or twice a year, and that's about it too. Although I did really like Portal when my friend showed it to me on the PC. Oh, if you're on a tablet, make sure to let me know right away, because if you are, then YouTube has this really weird issue where they say, well, you can only post so many things because you're talking too much. In my live streams, there's never such thing as talking too much among the commenters. I don't know if I'd be able to get into Halo 3. It seems like you have to be really good at first-person shooters, and I am awful at first-person shooters. I tried playing Fortnite, and I got a whopping high score of 1. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Nope. Also not my thing. Over gratuitous violence. Nope. Not that either. Games I like to play are typically in the adventure or RPG genre. So I really like the first 2 Paper Marios, Fire Emblem, well, except for Heroes. That one was kind of lame. Oh yeah, I do. I love myself some good Mario. Not all of the Marios I like. Yeah, I love Donkey Kong Country. One of my least viewed video game reviews, actually, was Donkey Kong Country. I like Phoenix Wright, Professor Layton, the Zero Escape trilogies. I like Zero Escape trilogy, both a walkthrough and a novelization of the 3rd game. Because why not? Zero Time Dilemma is amazing. I really like Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, although that's not really a series. I better just make a... Oh yeah, Tokyo Mirage Sessions was a pretty good crossover, even though I never actually played a Persona game before until then. But I'm thinking that might be my opportunity to get into it, because there's a new Persona game coming out for the 3DS in June, and they said it's going to be based on the movies. I hardly ever go to the movies, so that's great. No, can't say I play Street Fighter. I tried a little bit on the 3DS, but I didn't like the combinations, and then I tried doing the combinations in Super Smash Brothers for 3DS. That didn't work either, so I just said, okay, I give up on this franchise. It's just, I prefer a Smash Brothers if I'm going to do any kind of fighting. What, the fact that I gave up? That's what you're LOLing? I played a little bit of Crash Bandicoot on the... Well, first I played it on the PlayStation way back when, and then I proceeded to rent the Insane Trilogy on the Switch, and I didn't like it very much because the controls and the platforming was so outdated. I felt like they put so much work into the graphics that the game as a whole had to suffer as a result, and so I ended up giving it back before I beat any of the 3 games. I played a little bit of Spyro on the PlayStation. I really liked... I can't remember which one it was, because they all kind of blend together. The one where Spyro had a deeper voice, and he had that fox guy that taught him different moves. That was really fun. I also really like the sound effects in Spyro. Like, when he gets the gems, it has this newness factor to it. At least it did back in the 90s. I don't know what newness would sound like today, apart from the sound effects in Super Mario Party, or what I would consider that. I also really like Banjo-Kazooie. Male. Oh, it's hard to tell with this computer down, but that make it a little bit easier to tell. Yeah, not so confusing anymore, is it? I just happen to have really long hair. Where I come from, it's cold, and I like my ears to be covered up. And I'm also on the spectrum, so my voice is higher than that of an average guy, but boy, can I make it deep if I want to. Love myself some Zelda. In fact, Breath of the Wild is actually my favorite video game. And as far as my favorite Zelda apart from Breath of the Wild, I'd have to say Twilight Princess. I know not a lot of people really give Twilight Princess as much credit as it's due, but man, I wish Nintendo would go back to their horsepower is everything mentality that they had during the GameCube era, because that's what made Twilight Princess so amazing. Is it felt like Nintendo saying, we need to make a good-looking new Zelda game. And then after that, they just said, you know what, let's focus more on the gimmicks of the system than making an actual game. So with Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, it was the DS stylus. I didn't like those games. Skyward Sword had Wii Motion Plus. That was okay, but the graphics suffered as a result. A Link Between Worlds looked pretty fine. used the 3DS's depth perception to great effect. Hyrule Warriors looked amazing, but people would say, well, Paul, that doesn't count because that's a spin-off. And I love Hyrule Warriors so much, I bought all 3 versions to date. I sold the other 2 because Definitive Edition was basically the best of both worlds, and I figured why own multiple of the same game. Yeah. Of course, the main reason why I don't sell a lot of my other games that I have multiple copies of are because I have brothers and a sister that would probably be angry at me if I got rid of too much nostalgia. That's why they got mad at me when I suggested selling Ocarina of Time Master Quest, because I was like, well, I already have Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS. They're like, but Paul, you can't sell a GameCube game. That's a classic. So do I. I have it right up there. Except I'm in too awkward of a position on my computer to grab it, but I will rectify that in a minute. Okay, there we go. Here it is. My lovely Nintendo 64. In dusty condition with the expansion pack removed because my brother wanted to show his wife Donkey Kong 64. And I actually don't really like Donkey Kong 64. 600? Where the heck? Where'd you get 600? Oh, yeah, me too. If I ever end up having kids, I definitely want them to try out games like Mario 64 and Kirby's Epic Yarn. $600? I only have maybe like 11. Let's see. Let me actually make a count of that. Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, a lot of 64s in there. Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64. I think that might be it. I had the N64 Zeldas at one point, but I don't know if I still do or not. Used to have Kirby 64. I sold that because I didn't like it. Ooh, did you say something else? Oh, no, apparently not. Donkey Kong 64. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, those are my N64 games collection. Yeah, I had a lot of fond memories of Mario Party 3. Never played GoldenEye 007 because at the time it was too violent for me. And looking back at it now, I'm just like, I'm horrendously awful at first-person shooters. And I heard that that one is really hard to play with the nowadays type of computer. I would say my favorite N64 game. That's a tough one. I know most people would be tempted to say one of the Zelda games, but those Zelda games had issues. I'd probably have to say either Banjo-Kazooie or Paper Mario. Both of those games were just absolute masterpieces, and Paper Mario still looks good to this day, and it's an N64 game. How many N64 games can look you straight in the eye and say this game still looks amazing? Granted, Paper Mario 2 outdid it, but for its time, that was mind-blowing. Myself some Paper Mario. If Nintendo announces a true Paper Mario 3, I am so going to be hyped. I'm also so going to be crossing my fingers that they don't ruin it. Oh boy. The next disliked video on my list is my non-footage review of Tropical Freeze on the Nintendo Switch. Oh, yeah, that's right. I do have Smash Brothers, so that's 7. Yeah, I don't really like the original Smash Brothers anymore. It's too slow and clunky. But I do love Super Mario 64. I never actually saw that movie, but I did see the Nintendo reviewer review it, and I thought it looked really stupid. especially because it didn't feel like a Mario movie. It felt like a movie about two plumbers that were womanizers. Yeah, that was not exactly that great. Oh, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Well, I'm going to be multitasking now. I'll be answering your questions and seeing how bad this really was. Might have been because I had a runny nose and I was also being heavily satirical. Maybe people don't get satire. I don't know. Let's see.
Good evening, my friends. This is Paul. First off, I want to apologize in advance because I'm going through allergy season, so if my voice sounds a little weird or if I sniffle randomly, I don't really know how to edit that out. If I did, it would ruin the review, so I hope you'll just forgive me, just like every other popular YouTuber does. Anyway, tonight I'm going to be reviewing to you Funky Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, shoot, sorry, I just got a major phone call. Hold on. Hello, Captain Nintendo Nerd speaking. Oh, hi, famous YouTuber. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I would have done a collab with you too, but I'm right in the middle of reviewing the Funky Kong Country. You're saying that's not what it's called? It's literally just called Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
That is a dumb title.
But I just reviewed a Wii U game that has the same name. Why would they put the same name on the game and not call it, like, Tropical Freeze Deluxe? Yeah, that's totally baffling to me. Well, they added what's called Funky Mode. So, they had to have thought, well, let's change the title of the game then. They didn't change the title of the game. Yeah, that's insanely stupid. Well, besides being the hairy equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog.
The hairy equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog? Did I really say that? It's kind of true, though. I mean, they both kind of have that tough guy attitude. I gotta quote that one. That's great. Donkey Kong is the hairy equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, I actually beat Donkey Kong Country Returns. I even got to beat the Golden Temple. I have footage of it, but it's not very good footage because it was taken straight from my 3DS without a capture card. Now that I actually do have a capture card, if enough people request it, I will beat the Golden Temple on the Wii version. Oh, wait, I can't do that because my Wii is busted. So I'd have to get to the end all over again. Oh, well. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. If you ever get that on the Switch, the new funky mode does not make the game autopilot, but it does make it so that it's easier to get to all of the levels. Oh, yeah. I did my fair share of raging when I was playing Returns, but I also never gave up either. I always wanted to see just a little bit more. Let me just get a little bit further and see if I can do this. Thank goodness for those wrist straps back in the day. Most of the games I rage on nowadays, I mostly save it for YouTube. And I usually do it sarcastically so that I don't waste all that adrenaline and just make myself angrier. Let's see, what more did I say about Tropical Freeze? Donkey Kong can jump on spikes without getting hurt. He can do an infinite hover in the air. He can roll unlimited times, both above ground and underwater. He never has to use air bubbles. He has 5 hearts instead of just 2. And he can take an additional hit on minecart and rocket barrel levels. And in addition to that, you can collect the Kong letters without having to recollect them if you die. I know, that's so amazing. I don't know why they didn't do that for Returns. I mean, they did it with the puzzle pieces, so... Yeah, I know. I don't know why it takes game developers 8 years to do the obvious. You also get discounts in the store, like the items are cheaper, they are more effective. No, I decided not to use items. I figured if Funky Kong was already overpowered,
I didn't want to, add to it. No, it definitely doesn't make you invincible. There were still plenty of times that I died. Well, this game is still really hard. It's not unfairly hard, mind you. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on. You have to react really quickly because the foreground and the background often have stuff going on at the same time. Near the end of the game, a lot of stuff collapses. Yeah, it requires a insane amount of attention.
Oh,
well, yeah,
heading out?
Nintendo did bring that back. I know people were like getting their pitchforks and salad forks and dinner forks all in uproar because they took it out of the Wii U version. But in this version, if you die enough times, then they literally say something along the lines of, "You stink. We're just gonna beat this level for you, but we're not gonna save your Kong letters or puzzle pieces." Yeah, like how are you supposed to play all the levels if you can't do that? No, I'm not that bad of a gamer. Some of those puzzle pieces and Kong letters are just put in these really hard to reach locations, and so it's hard to do a completionist run. No, there aren't any new levels. Yeah, that really stinks. They probably wanted to go the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe route.
Hey, welcome.
Well, you know what? Most people haven't been able.
We said lads in the plural. I'm a lad. A Guatemore, however you pronounce it. You're a guy too, I take it? Your thumbnail kind of looks like it, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong on occasion before in this live stream. I kept saying him to a YouTuber, and at the very end of the live stream, she said, "I'm just a girl that loves games." Thankfully, she changed her YouTube name, because I don't blame you for being confused. How you doing, Synthwave Maniac? I've been meaning to watch your latest videos. I just didn't, because I've been distracted lately by another YouTuber named Yellow Kazoo, who's been live streaming like nearly every evening about some of my favorite video games. And I'd be like, ooh, live stream. And kind of just go for it. So, in case you got in late, I've been looking at the videos on my YouTube channel that have received more dislikes than likes, going through them, watching them live for all of you, and trying to figure out, oh yeah, no problem. I like to repay my subscribers as much as possible with my limited budget. And I'm seeing, like, what did I do wrong? Because the people that hate my videos, with the exception of one guy, but then he deleted all of his comments, so I can't call him out anymore. No one told me what I did wrong. And then the one person that did tell me what I did wrong, it was actually falsehood. He said, "Well, Paul, you don't allow for likes and dislikes in this video." And I said, "Yes, I do. That's not a valid complaint." So then I said, "What's wrong with the actual video?" And he wouldn't tell me. He just would not. And he still hasn't answered me. So whatever. I'm doing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I did review it with footage. This is the version that I did where I only had pictures and I also had a cold. So let me know if you can't hear it very well. Otherwise, I'll just keep narrating it. I'm not normally one that likes to talk during my own videos, but I'll make an exception because it's easier for me to hear it than for you guys to hear it. So I'm to play the harder levels because this game is just so ridiculously hard. So because you can get to them easier as Funky Kong, we're going to pretend that it's new levels. By the way, I'm multitasking.
Yeah, that's really stupid.
It's all just my voice, so I can still read what you're saying.
If you like collecting trophies in the Super Smash Bros. Series, you can get one of Funky Kong's bird. I know, that's like so rad. It totally justifies the extra. The game's going for $60? What the heck? They added a new character. Oh no, Donkey Kong is still in the game. I mean, the opening cutscene doesn't even have Funky in it at all. Oh, you're telling me that a game that's called Donkey Kong Country ought to have the title character in the title screen. Well, yes, that's what it was like in the Wii U version, but, with all the fuss about Funky mode, you'd think, okay, well, let's put Funky in the opening cutscene. Well, yeah, they added a new cutscene at the end that has Funky leaning over someone's shoulder, but that's about it. No, the music is still the same. I mean, not that David Wise is a bad composer, but you'd think maybe he'd say, okay, we got Funky mode, so let's maybe do a new Funky theme song. No, it's the same theme song as the Wii U version. controls were fine enough. I mean, honestly, I'm always going to prefer the gamepad, but seeing as the gamepad did like nothing when you played it in TV mode on the Wii U, I don't think you're going to miss much. No, I wouldn't recommend buying this again if you already played it to death on the Wii U. I mean,
not that most people have a Wii U.
Additions in Funky Mode, there's like nothing new besides that one figurine. Well, I mean, I didn't mind replaying it. Tropical Freeze is one of the best platformers ever, and I was excited to see the levels that I didn't see in return.
One of the best platformers ever.
Easier to get the collectibles.
It was one of the best platforms ever, because my favorite platform is actually Super Mario Odyssey. So thank goodness I clarified that.
Yeah, the post-game stuff was incredible. Some of the best platforming challenges I've had since Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I 100%ed Super Mario Galaxy 2.
There's a service called Gamefly. I don't know if you've heard of it. Instead of getting review copies provided by Nintendo, you actually get to rent games for as long as you want. Yeah, I know. It's only $22 a month, and you can get 2 games at a time. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, they probably figured that was a plug.
Don't have any deadlines. I can just take my time. The game, the game pretends that. Yeah, it's great that they don't have a timer. That's really great, because people like me, we want to be able to think out what we should do next, even though that's totally the antithesis of Funky Kong. I know, right? Yeah, his bird runs the shop now, so you get a couple of new...
A bird running the shop, wow.
Items. Well, the game looks pretty much identical to the Wii U version. They kept it at 60 frames per second, not that I know what that means. I mean, the game runs really fast, and there's a lot of background and foreground details that just go crazy. Yeah, I didn't really notice anything different besides, the Donkey Kong's new idle animation as he plays with a Switch instead of a 3DS.
Cool touch.
Well, if the Switch was powerful enough to completely revamp Wii U games, then Mario Kart 8 would have been displayed in 4K, but it wasn't. So therefore, the Wii U is a very graphically amazing system. What? You're telling me people said the Wii U is underpowered? No way. Have they even played Mario Kart 8? Yeah, well, I gotta deal with Nintendo haters. You can go ahead and talk to the PlayStation people all you want. I'm totally fine with sticking to Nintendo stuff. No, I think I'll pass this time, because I don't want to be that guy that is known for going down the dark side of abandoning my Catholic faith for the sake of video games.
Had to mention Catholicism
in there.
If there is
a Catholic message in this game, there's not much of one. Basically, a bunch of evil penguins cause an avalanche that freezes Donkey Kong Island and makes for some fun platforming. So I guess the message of the game is, even if you're evil, that can still cause good results? Yeah, I know it's a stretch. Not every game has to have a Catholic message. It could just be fun to play, good leisure time. Yeah, I would only recommend getting this if you either haven't played it on the Wii U, or you want to get the post-game content. Oh, you want to know how much the Wii U version is on the eShop? Well, it should be about $20 as... Oh, shoo. They removed it from the eShop for the Wii U?
I don't know if you guys heard that. If you can't hear it very well, let me know, because I don't know how laptop dynamics work for people on the other side, but I was just saying that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze only costs $20 on the Wii U. So they actually took down Tropical Freeze from the Wii U eShop. So most people are not too thrilled about that, especially those that actually liked the Wii U. But the Wii U version came first. What? Nintendo would never do that. No, the Wii U is an amazing system. Why would they want to forget it ever happened? Yeah, that really would be a shame if that's the truth. Guess I'll have to call them up and say, hey, you, people want to play Tropical Freeze on the Wii U. That actually rhymes. That's a shame. Oh,
Oh, yeah, well, I'd love to talk to you longer, but I've got this really bad allergy, so I'm gonna have to run for some tissues pretty soon, and, my audience is waiting for me to finish this video. No, I'll apologize to them. Don't worry. They're a very understanding bunch.
They're a very
So
understanding
understanding,
bunch.
in fact, that they've actually advised me to put pictures in my videos. Yeah, I know. It's like the next best thing when you don't have a capture card.
I do know.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for calling. Hope I'll talk to you soon, and good luck with your own YouTube channel. Alright, awesome. Bye. Yeah, sorry guys, I just got a phone call, as you probably heard. I unfortunately can't do the review. My allergies are acting up, so thank you very much for attempting to listen. Maybe I'll try to do a proper review when I feel better, but in the meantime, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and keep eating bananas. Bye.
Yeah, my audience is real understanding, seeing as no one liked the video yet. So, before I continue on to the next video, which is on the next page of this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Doing pretty good so far. Kirby 64. So before I go into Kirby 64, I'll hear your feedback. If you don't want me to talk about disliked videos, I can do that too. Just want to make sure I'm not doing it my way or no way kind of deal. That being said, I forgot to mention this in your video, Synthwave Maniac, but yeah, it was you. I'm losing track of people now. I really liked your accent. It was quite nice. That I am, yes. Well, you're quite welcome. Doesn't quite answer the question, though. Were you able to actually hear what was being said in the video? Of course, that's an old, outdated video. I actually re-reviewed the game with footage and with not a cold, so that particular video is going to be super nitpicky. Oh, good. Perfect. Would you like me to go on to the next? Well, obviously you want me to go on to the next one. You are using quite a lot of smiley face emojis. All right, next up is my review of Kirby 64. All right. I just in the comments already I called out Easy Allies. Okay. Maybe disliking a video before you've even watched it? That's just weird. Oh, no, that was my Kirby Star Allies review. Okay, never mind. Moving on to Kirby 64.
Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul. And today, since I rented Kirby Star Allies and I'm roughly about halfway through the game, I'm going to be reviewing the last Kirby game that I've beaten on the list to sort of rev up the hype for the latest Kirby game. So, I'm going to be doing Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards for the Nintendo 64. I mean, it has the word 64 in the title. You can pretty much assume it was a Nintendo 64 game.
Except Star Fox 64 DS
and unique among Nintendo 64 titles, as most franchises, most notably Zelda, Mario, and Donkey Kong, went from their original 2D approach to a more open roaming 3D approach. How does Kirby do it? He mostly just acts the same as he did in his old games. He still moves from left to right, albeit with alternate camera angles due to the 3D nature of the Nintendo 64. He and all the enemies are now 3D models.
I think one of the reasons they might have disliked this is because I had my heater on at the time because I was wearing a t-shirt, so it must not have been that cold. I don't know. I was using my computer's built-in microphone back then. I am now, but that's only so that you guys can actually hear my videos, because otherwise I'd have to plug in my headphones and put it next to the speaker, and that would be weird. But I do have an official microphone, just not using it right now. So let's see. Did they actually hate anything about the actual review?
But it's still a left and right game. So essentially they called it 2.5D, and to this day there has yet to be a true 3D Kirby game, besides maybe Kirby Air Ride, but that's a spin-off. So that remains to be seen. Kirby 64 plays pretty much the same as you would expect if you've been watching my Kirby's Dream Land reviews. It has a lot of the same fan service, the music is basically the same, and there are still annoying collectibles to find in each stage. The difference this time is that Kirby has a central mechanic that, ironically, was not used again until the release of 2018's Kirby Star Allies. That was 18 years in the making to bring this back, and that was the dual copy abilities. So basically, Kirby's been able to copy his enemies' abilities ever since Kirby's Adventure on the NES, but now he can take an ability and then throw it at another enemy or a copy ability to make a combined copy ability. So you could combine, say, rock and sword, or electricity and fire. Basically, any combination you can think of, you can do it. And these allow for some of the most hilarious transformations you've ever seen in a Kirby game, including turning into a refrigerator and spewing out health recovery items, as well as a giant flaming sword that you can either swing around or toss at the enemies. I don't want to spoil all the combinations in case for some odd reason you haven't played this game. But Kirby 64 suddenly becomes very fun and, to a certain extent, overly easy if you have these copy abilities.
It's already overly easy.
Been known for being infamously easy, but Kirby 64, up until I have my full verdict on Kirby Star Allies, is probably the easiest one yet.
Well, guess what?
The game also...
I actually did review Kirby Star Allies after this, and that game is much easier than Kirby 64. So, guess what? You've been ousted. Although, I would have to say that a game that's even easier than Star Allies is Kirby's Epic Yarn. That game is insultingly easy.
Has 3 buddies that tag along with Kirby after you defeat their possessed forms, and that's Waddle Dee, King Dedede, a lot of D's in there, and Adeline. Adeline can use her paintings to make recovery items for Kirby. Waddle Dee usually gives Kirby some kind of contraption to help him level uniquely, be it a conveyor belt.
This is before I knew that she would be in Star Allies, so that was really cool. I was kind of foreshadowing a bit.
Even a boat in one level. And then King Dedede, you can actually jump on his back and then have access to his hammer abilities, which make for some pretty fun destruction levels. Kirby 64 only has a limited flight, which to my knowledge no other Kirby game has that. Presumably because the levels aren't so much open as they were in previous games. A lot of the levels are actually within buildings this time around, and sometimes you have to have really tight platforming, especially once you get to that factory level. Other than that, it's a fairly predictable Kirby experience. There are many games to play, but all of them are very simple, and unless you have friends, you're probably going to get bored of them really quickly. Although I had quite a few incredible laughs playing this top-down view game where you have to smash the columns to gradually destroy the stage, or when you have a fruit basket and have to grab as much fruit as possible. Those were a blast, and it really makes me glad that the Nintendo 64 was designed right off the bat to accommodate 4 controllers. You can also collect various trinkets, most notably the item cards, which all they really do is give you a picture of the enemies. And the collector in you might want to do that. You can also collect crystal shards in each level, which eventually unlock a brand new final boss, but other than that, not really too much to get excited about. The weird thing about Kirby 64 is the control scheme. Most Nintendo 64 games, if not all of them, took advantage of the analog stick, because this was the very first video game to feature analog feedback on a controller, instead of just preset buttons or using another button like Super Mario Brothers to modulate your run speed. Instead, you can't use the control stick at all. You have to use the control pad for everything, which works. I mean, it's a predominantly side-scrolling game, but it would have been interesting if the option was allowed, at least say for the menus or maybe some of the video games. Thankfully, you play Kirby 64 as part of the Kirby's Dream Land collection on the Wii, which I did get a chance to test out part of it. You can actually use a GameCube controller or a classic controller, and they let you use the control stick. The same cannot be said for the Virtual Console version of it, so buy with caution if you can't find the Dream Collection. Otherwise, the aforementioned Wii disc is the definitive way to play this gem. I would recommend it if you're a fan of more light-hearted, easygoing games. Kirby 64 rarely has you going too fast, and instead relishes on taking its sweet time and allowing the player to just have fun with experimenting with different combos. It's definitely the Kirby game that gave me the least frustration and the one that I replayed the most. So if you're super hyped for Kirby Star Allies and want to know where that friend copying deal came from, this is definitely one to check out. Not to mention, it also has some of the catchiest music on the Nintendo 64 outside of the Banjo-Kazooie titles. And they finally put Planet Popstar into Super Smash Bros. For Wii U as part of the DLC. So
and that was an old
you
video.
can get a little bit of a taste of the awesomeness for yourself if you have all the downloads for that game. With that said, thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned in the next couple of days for Kirby Star Allies, a review along the way. Maybe a Catholic one if it actually has a story.
Which it doesn't.
And until the next time, the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.
Okay, how could I have said that Kirby game gave me the least frustration? I'm pretty sure I had played Kirby Superstar by the time I had done this review, and I loved Kirby Superstar. That's weird. I don't know what I was thinking there. Superstar Ultra was even better, but that's also a remake. Moving on. Still doing pretty good. A lot of videos that just weren't liked or disliked, so I'm skipping over those. 85%, not bad. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Never figured out what I did wrong on that because it's got 0 comments. Let's check. Anything you want to add before I move on to Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Alright, well, in that case, we will keep on moving. Make sure to let me know if this is getting too boring for you, because that's okay, no worries. If you ever, if something comes to the top of your head that you're like, Paul, I want to get your opinion on this, then go ahead and interrupt me all you want. Actually, I like that better when my audience does that during my live streams, because I can tend to blab a lot when it's late at night. So let's get Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which I listed as a DS and GameCube game because I'm a Catholic Nintendo nerd. That's what I do. They better not have disliked it just for that, because that would be very petty.
Good evening, my friend.
I have my heater on again.
I have no idea why I waited so long to do this review. I mean, I reviewed Sonic Forces before I did this. But I am finally going to review Sonic 3 and Knuckles, specifically the version that I played on the DS through Sonic Classics Collection, which contains all
Also beat it on the
of
PC,
Sonic's
but that's not a Nintendo
Genesis
system.
adventures. Now, when I say 6, I mean Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and then the 2 Knuckles expansions. So Knuckles and Sonic 2, and then Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This was super revolutionary technology back in 1993.
Still is.
Sega was, like every other big company, running short on time for their deadline to the third Sonic the Hedgehog game. This was going to be a humongous game.
Why can't EA do that?
The previous 2 Sonic games. But because they weren't nearly done with the project, they decided that they released Sonic 3, and then Sonic and Knuckles would release the following year, but with a lock-on technique, so that you could plug Sonic 3 into Sonic and Knuckles, and then be able to play not only the full game, but be able to play as Knuckles through Sonic 3, and then through all the zones in Sonic and Knuckles normally. Why more games haven't done this, I don't know. You could basically say it was the first mod and the first DLC in video games without being officially called that.
You could.
Okay, wouldn't it be super cool if you had, a normal Wii U disc of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and you said, you know what? I'm really fed up that they don't have the Subspace Emissary, so I'm going to take the Super Smash Bros. Used to the other webcam. The Super Smash Bros. Brawl disc. We're going to stack it on top. There! Now we get to have a Subspace Emissary and 8.
Well, guess what? This was made before Ultimate was announced, so I no longer have that complaint. That's outdated.
That's basically what Sonic 3 and Knuckles did, and it was mind-blowing. But enough spending 2 minutes talking about the Sega Genesis technology. What exactly do the two current Nintendo versions have to offer? Well, you can also get this on the GameCube as part of Sonic Mega Collection, but seeing as it's currently easier to find DS games, that's the format I would recommend it on. The only real upside to buying it on the Sonic Classics Collection is you get a nice selection of artwork, and you can pause the game through the touchscreen, but other than that, the game runs and sounds smoothly, apart from the final battle being harder than it should be because of the small screen size, making it hard to keep the boss in full.
Actually, really shocked my best friend when he heard that.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the type of game that relies, at first you'd think, on speed, but as early as the very first slope that you walk down, you can tell that this game wasn't designed with just speed in mind. You also have to be thinking about momentum, and you also have to be thinking about precision. Because if you just blindly rush through the levels, you're going to either hit a dead end or you're going to die. There are many times where you have to carefully plan out, how high of a jump should I make this? How should I approach the jump? Should I get into a spin, or should I stay in my neutral stance? How much should I rev up before going into this jump? There was a lot more thought process from just one jump than a Mario game could ever accomplish. And that's probably the genius of Sonic games in general, is from the very beginning, they were designed so that everything could be done with the push of a button. Sonic games are known for being very fast, and while this game may not have had the Sonic nearly zooming off the screen like Sonic 2 did, it was pretty darn close. But to sacrifice for the slightly slower speed, Sonic 3 and Knuckles made up for it with much more detailed environmental interaction. You take the Angel Island Zone, one of the best examples of progression.
I was just thinking about that, actually.
Where it starts out as this nice, peaceful island resort. Then the mid-boss starts firing bullets in the air, and then the whole island becomes ablaze. And then by the time you get to the second act, you're basically inferno. Sonic 3 and Knuckles introduced multiple characters to be playable in the Sonic games that actually were functionally different. You've got Sonic, who of course has his traditional moveset from Sonic 2, including the spin dash and the spin jump, which honestly we take for granted nowadays, but back then that was a pretty cool way of attacking, to have your whole body as a weapon, because he's a hedgehog, and so anything he touches when he jumps gets hurt. But unlike most games where you might be sensitive and say, you're killing off innocent robots, well, said robots have innocent animals.
1 minute.
All
right, so gotta pause for a moment. Come in. Alrighty. It's okay. I've got the webcam covered.
Well, so you'll have to set the line because I will not be back till 8:30.
Okay.
So you're on your own getting ready.
Don't forget, I have the WIN meeting tomorrow.
You also have Thursdays.
Thursday's the doctor, yeah. I got the WIN meeting.
Yeah, so set your alarm. Make sure you get up because I drop her off at 8:50.
Okay, will do.
I get ready. I'm coming back.
All right, thanks a lot. Okay, I'm back. Hope the camera angle's not too terrible. Let's see here. Okay, where was I? Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There we go.
So I'd be really happy to know that they're actually saving innocent lives by killing robots. What a cool way to encourage destruction of robots. Also new to this game is that you can press the jump button twice in the air to make Sonic do a little shield. Honestly, I thought that was kind of stupid. It never, ever worked for me, but hey, if it helps some of you with tricky jumps, good for you, because it certainly didn't help me. Sonic also has the unique ability to take the barriers and use an elemental attribute depending on the barrier. Now, previous Sonic games had a bland blue barrier that circled around Sonic, but now there's a fire, bubble, and electricity barrier. I'm pretty sure they're self-explanatory in and of themselves, but when Sonic has the fire barrier, he can dash forward like a moving fireball. If he has the lightning barrier, he can double jump. And if he has the aqua barrier, as it's called in the manual, he can bounce off of the ground. Well, I guess the lightning isn't so obvious. It attracts rings too, which are basically Sonic's life bar. When Sonic gets hit, rather than depleting a life bar or like getting powered down like in the Mario games, Sonic's rings would start spilling out. And you'd have to grab them as fast as you could, because if Sonic got hit again when he had no rings, he would lose a life. Now, before I get on to the convoluted life system in this game, I need to stay back on track and get back to the other two characters. You can also play as Tails, originally known as Miles per Hour in the Japanese version, because it was a play on words of miles per hour. Sadly, there is no way to change that in the US version that I played. He can use his tails to, well, fly and reach areas that Sonic cannot because of his added height. He can also attack enemies from below with his tails and even deflect projectiles. Of course, this doesn't last forever.
I just realized I'm going to have to make this a part 2 because, you see, in the Catholic Church, it's the season of Lent, and during Lent, we're asked to either give up something or do something that's more charitable, like increased prayer work. So what I decided to do for Lent is, it's a very nondescript book, but it has like holy pictures in it, and it has the night prayer of the church. Now, I could theoretically do night prayer live if you guys want to join with me. I mean, even if you're a Christian, you should be able to appreciate night prayer, but basically it's just praying for the universal church. You know, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. I think I will do that so that I don't have to end this live stream prematurely. Doing night prayer live if anyone is interested. Alrighty. Well, I guess you can't live respond because it's supposed to be like a talking to talking people. Oh, yeah, that's right. You are Catholic. That's cool. Yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe it's because you changed your name. I think that's why. Like, your former name, I remembered you were Catholic, but not after this. Yeah, that's so cool. Let's see. Today is Monday, so we need the Monday night prayer. Somewhere in here. Okay. Monday night prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, to start out night prayer, we're supposed to do an examination of conscience. So, we think about what we have done all throughout today. We think about where we did good. We think about where we sinned. And during the times when we sinned, we now, think about it and ask if, excuse me, ask if the Lord can forgive us. So I'll take a couple of minutes of silence for that. You, Lord God, are slow to anger, abounding in love. And this is based off of Psalm 85, the prayer of a poor man in distress. Turn your ear, O Lord, and give answer, for I am poor and needy. Preserve my life, for I am faithful. Save the servant who trusts in you. You are my God. Have mercy on me, Lord, for I cry to you all the day long. Give joy to your servant, O Lord, for to you I lift up my soul. O Lord, you are good and forgiving, full of love to all who call. Give heed, O Lord, to my prayer, and attend to the sound of my voice. In the day of distress I will call, and surely you will reply. Among the gods there is none like you, O Lord, nor work to compare with yours. All the nations shall come to adore you, and glorify your name, O Lord. For you are great and do marvelous deeds. You alone are God. Show me, Lord, your way, so that I may walk in your truth. Guide my heart to fear your name. I will praise you, Lord my God, with all my heart, and glorify your name forever. For your love to me has been great. You have saved me from the depths of the grave. The proud have risen against me. Ruthless men seek my life. To you they pay no heed. But you, God of mercy and compassion, slow to anger, O Lord, abounding in love and truth, turn and take pity on me. O give your strength to your servant, and save your handmaid's son. Show me a sign of your favor, that my foes may see to their shame, that you console me and give me your help. And there's what's called the antiphon during night prayer that you just keep saying over and over again between the verses. So the antiphon is, You, O Lord, are slow to anger, abounding in love. And this is a reading from 1 Thessalonians. God chose us to possess salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us in order that we might live together with him, whether we are alive or dead when he comes. This part I'm always confused at because I usually do it with a priest in the room, so I'll just go for it and see what happens. Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. You have redeemed us, Lord God of truth. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Save us, Lord, while we are awake. Protect us while we sleep, that we may keep watch with Christ and rest with him in peace. Next up is called the Nunc Dimitris, which I believe that's prayer of the night in Latin or Greek. It's based on the canticle of Zacharias in the Gospel of Luke when he sees Jesus in the temple. So we pray together. At last, all-powerful Master, you give leave to your servant to go in peace according to your promise. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared for all nations, the light to enlighten the Gentiles, and to give glory to Israel your people. And next the antiphon. Save us, Lord, while we are awake. Protect us while we sleep, that we may keep watch with Christ and rest with him in peace. Lord, give our bodies restful sleep, and let the work we have done today be sown for an eternal harvest. Through Christ our Lord. May the Lord grant us a quiet night and a perfect end. Amen. Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So, thank you very much for joining me for night prayer. I've certainly had bigger audiences than this, but it was nice to be able to do it on YouTube for a change. So, much appreciated. Do you have anything to add before I continue my Sonic 3 critique? Or do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask instead of critiquing? Oh, yeah. I love night prayer so much. In fact, I actually got a chance to do night prayer on the mission trip with a transitional deacon, and that was a blast because he had a whole bunch of teenagers with them. For some odd reason, most of them were girls. I don't know why guys don't like night prayer. And they were able to have the night prayer pulled up on their cell phones. And because I am that one primitive dude that still has this kind of phone, they were able to let me follow along with them. And so half of the girls said that, the other half of them and me said the other part. And then the deacon would lead us in the responses, and then we would respond to him. And we did it at night, so we got the sound of the crickets to soothe us, and that was really beautiful. Oh man. I'm normally the type of guy that loves, how do I word this? Saying that a mission trip is over and good riddance, but man, I would love to relive that day any day. All right, so off of the tangent. Is there anything you want to add? Do you have any questions / comments? The video, I posted it April 8th, 2018, so almost a year ago. That's okay. Well, like I said, please do not hesitate to interrupt me if you're getting bored, because I have a tendency to not always notice when I'm going on too much. So we will continue in that case. Okay, let's keep going.
And it lasts even shorter if you decide to play co-op, when Tails can actually help carry Sonic to higher areas. However, it suffers from the same problem as it did in Sonic 2, where yes, there was technically a two-player mode, but the camera is always going to focus on Sonic, and sometimes Sonic runs so fast that Tails gets left behind, and the game sort of automatically makes him catch up. And then, since we're talking about Sonic 3 and Knuckles, might as well talk about Knuckles. In the original Sonic 3, Knuckles was only present as sort of the pretend antagonist before you knew that Robotnik was the real villain. Knuckles can't jump as high as Sonic or Tails, but he can glide through the air and cut through anything that his knuckles touch, including reflecting projectiles. But he can also break through walls that Sonic can't break through just by simply coming into contact with them. And he can also climb walls, which, like Tails, leads to some nice verticality moments. So as a result, you could play the same game with both Sonic and Knuckles and experience almost completely different play styles, because Knuckles breaking through walls can get into entirely new areas. This was revolutionary technology in 1993. And to this day, games like Lost Vikings and other 2D co-op games are still trying to adapt to this multiple characters approach. Heck, even Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U couldn't manage it nearly as well as this game. So I don't know what the heck is so hard about programming a game as simplistic as Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Either way,
Okay, I think that might have been a little bit harsh there, because I bet Sonic 3 and Knuckles must have been a nightmare to program, especially because during the Sonic and Tails sections, they had to have a second AI following along, one that's super quick. Plus, they had to make sure that the levels were beatable as all three characters. Plus, I never even played Lost Vikings, so that was probably an unfair comparison.
One of the beautiful things about the contrast between Sonic and Knuckles is you're seeing the story from two different perspectives, yet going through mostly the same levels. Knuckles doesn't have the Death Egg Zone like Sonic does.
That's a shame.
Other than that, it's mostly the same experience. But you get to see how the different paths that they take eventually intersect. Like when Sonic enters the Ice Calf Zone, he gets to ski through the level.
He snowboards.
Whereas Knuckles, he ends up bursting through the snow. But if you climb up high enough, you can actually get to the hill that Sonic skied down. Or if you're traveling to the level of Sonic and you see this impassable wall, you can see it, and then when you play as Knuckles, you can jump through it. And in the case of, say, the Mushroom Cap Zone,
Mushroom Hill Zone,
impassable wall in Sonic's path where Knuckles pulls a lever to make a trap door open beneath Sonic that blows him to the next part of the zone. But in Knuckles' path, you break through the wall, go past the switch, and continue onward. So it's a nice way of keeping the game experience fresh and providing a nice touch of replay value. Sonic 3 and Knuckles also boast some fantastic production values that have still aged very well to this day. The boss fights are very clever, but can also be easily exploited if you know their weaknesses, which makes this game a blast to speedrun. And the special stages are actually a really neat touch to offset this game's horrible life system. I could get back onto that eventually. So there are 3 different types of special stages you can encounter in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And when I mean the special stages, I mean the type that when you pass through the checkpoint pole, they start glowing with this little halo, and when you jump into it, then you go to this little bonus game. There's no penalty for failing at any of these, which makes them ideal for people that don't like gambling. There is a slot machine game where you can potentially gain a ton of rings, but you can also lose a lot of them if you get 3 Robotniks in a row in the slot machine.
People were triggered.
Also
People were probably triggered that I said Robotnik instead of Eggman. Well, guess what? Back when this game came out, he was still called Robotnik.
Pinball machine where you have to get on these, I don't even know how to describe it, electric type balls and jump from one to the other. It's really hard to describe without a capture card, but believe me, this is going to be one of those games that I will be showing on my capture card sub channel when I get it. So it's on its way.
Ooh.
And then there's a bubblegum.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that, because at present I do not have a way of recording that game. So I screwed up there. But I do have footage of the original Sonic and Sonic 2. So at least I sort of made up for it. So my sincerest apologies for making a promise I couldn't keep.
Where you can like hit the switch to make power-ups fall down, but you only have so many jump panels on the walls to get up to the lever before you fall down. And then the what I call the Emerald challenges, to differentiate from the special challenges,
Ugh.
are, oh dear, do I really have to explain this? So they're 3D in the fact that you move Sonic on a three-dimensional axis, but since it was the early days of 3D, you turn like a tank would. And as a result, when you're playing it on the DS, like I did, these blue sphere stages where you have to nab all the blue spheres can give you quite a headache. There's some interesting devious measures that you can take during these stages, such as completely surrounding a group of spheres to turn them all into rings, and this is one of the best ways to rack up extra lives and continues. But otherwise, these are the kind of stages that I would recommend avoiding unless you're playing this on the GameCube, or if you happen to have already downloaded the Wii Virtual Console version and just haven't played it.
Which no longer exists.
Okay, so on to the horrible live system. So ever since playing Sonic Forces, I've sort of gone back and reflected on, do I really think lives were necessary in the Sonic games? And my honest answer is no, they aren't. Because while it was super cool that Sonic 3 was one of, if not the, only Sega Genesis game to actually have multiple save files, and I think it had like 7 or 8 at the time, which is mind-blowing even by today's standards. But yet, they couldn't get something as simple as letting you restart from the act of the zone. If you got a game over and you're at the final boss of Act 2 of a level, you'd have to start all the way at the beginning of Act 1, unless you happen to have a continue, which makes the game feel like it's just another lazy arcade port. Now, Sonic Forces did a good job of offsetting this, because it had...
Okay, I'm thinking that most of the problems people are having with this video are because they're triggered as opposed to it legitimately being bad. Now, okay, the shaky camera, I can see that, but I'm allowed to like Sonic Forces. In fact, most major YouTubers talk about how they do like Sonic Forces, including the completionist. So I think I'm raising some pretty valid points here. I don't see what they have against the fact that Sonic Forces doesn't have a live system.
Checkpoint pulls, yes, but if you died, you could keep respawning at that checkpoint pull. And in case some of you are like, Paul, why are you comparing an older game to Sonic Forces? Well, it's because there's Sonic Mania, which
Good thing I
came out
mentioned that.
recently, and it had a live system, and it was stupid. One of the main reasons why I haven't gotten Sonic Mania for the Switch, because it was a very frustrating experience, because it didn't allow for the pick up and play gameplay that the DS version is supposedly trying to give you.
Well, guess what, younger me? I did pick up Sonic Mania, and I did an entire Let's Play of Sonic Mania Plus. I just haven't uploaded all of it. Because in Sonic Mania Plus, when you're playing in Encore mode, they actually get rid of the live system in favor of individual characters, which works a lot better. And it actually allowed me to beat it. So that's saying a lot.
Although I guess I should be thankful that it's not as bad as every other Sonic game where once you turn off the game, you lose all your progress. Overall, Sonic 3 Knuckles really strives when it comes to creating creative level designs that are non-linear, but yet they always lead you to the same goal, as well as balancing out platforming and precision. Not only that, but the games have no in-game storyline or lines of dialogue, so it allows you to focus on the sheer platforming. In addition to that, there's also a sense of sort of the actions speak for themselves. Like, you don't really need to read the manual to know the game's plot. All you need to know is, we need to stop Dr. Robotnik, because he's, obviously evil. So,
wait,
Sonic
what?
3 and Knuckles, of course, is going to be...
They got rid of annotations? Oh, that's weird. I mean, usually what I do is I watch my videos in Movie Maker after I've finished filming them. And then if I made a mistake, I use Movie Maker to make the correction. But not having that in the YouTube editor? I've actually never used that before, but I can see how a lot of creators nowadays would probably be pretty upset about that. Because even the ones that actually use scripts make typos every now and then. Fun fact, only one of my video game reviews was scripted, and that was New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Pretty sure you were in the live stream where I said that. But yeah, the reason I did that was I was making fun of the fact that it was too similar to New Super Mario Bros. U, or other way around. And so I took what I had said on the spot in New Super Mario Bros. U, copied it onto a text document, and just edited the parts that were Wii U specific. It was because, the Wii viewer, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, if not my absolute favorite. He did that when Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was released for the Switch, because he was making fun of Nintendo for hardly changing anything. So I decided to do the same thing. Oh, well, you're searching for the thingy. It's got about a minute left of me talking, so let's see how I finish this. Divisive among fans, because it's all going to depend on what type of Sonic platforming you prefer. Some people are going to prefer Sonic's actual 3D outings. Some people are going to say Sonic 2 was more original. Sonic 1 was the one that started it all. But personally, I'd like to think that Sonic 3, and in extension Sonic 3 Knuckles, is the most refined out of all of them. Because if you take it as an entire game, it's got 2 full game experiences put onto one game card. It has 3 characters to choose from, which means 2 alternate paths. It has a very non-linear design, and it just overall feels like the team took what worked and took out what didn't and refined what needed refining in the prequels and said, hey, let's use that as the foundation for our threequel, which is, again, if you've been a watcher of my channel since forever, you know that that's my mantra for making a good sequel. And thus, I think if Sonic games are going to go forward in the future, they need to have something as revolutionary as the lock-on technology and the refinement that Sonic 3 and Knuckles had. Or they can just do Sonic Mania Plus. If I had to pick a version to choose over the other, I would definitely say the DS version. Because, again, it's much more accessible and you can play it on the go. The GameCube version is not bad. You just have to unlock it off of the disc. And also, GameCube discs get scratched really easily, whereas DS cards are surprisingly resilient. Either way, you're in for a treat, no matter how you play this game, so definitely get it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye. Yeah. I mean, if you look at this in the knowledge of... Oh, cool. Very nice. Yeah, take your time. I'll see. Yeah, I think most of that video was just that a lot of the things I was saying was outdated. This is April 2018 that I posted that, and Sonic Mania Plus fixed most of the issues I had. It got rid of the timer for the levels. It also got rid of the live system, which was also great. And it let you use bonuses in and Knuckles mode, as well as saving your process. So if only I had known that that would have happened, maybe I wouldn't have been so harsh. Okay. My Game & Watch collection review, which I published February 24th, 2018. Ooh, man. Well, the thing with reviewing Game & Watch games is they're so short that it's kind of hard to have glowing praise to something that you can beat in less than a minute. So we'll see what I have to say about that. Although I'm probably going to call it... Good evening, my friends. I'm probably going to call it right now. I think the reason they hated it was because this was a Club Nintendo exclusive. And so they were probably saying, oh, Paul, you're being so whiny because you should be thankful you're getting it at all because it's exclusive. No, I'm not going to be thankful. If you're going to give a prize to someone, it should be good. Like, if you win first, Game & Watch Collection is just a collection of games that were already released but put onto the DS with hardly any improvements. That doesn't seem like a valid reward. So I'm going to treat it like a game that came out as a standalone game, because that's how I got it. Bought it at GameFly or Disc Replay. And I did not ever join Club Nintendo, so that's how everyone's going to play it now. Thankfully, this video is short. Got a good camera angle. My hair is a decent length. It's actually about the same as it is right now, so that's not bad. And I have my heater on. Okay, maybe that's why they keep disliking these videos.
This is Paul. And have you ever played Super Smash Bros. Melee and Beyond in the series and wondered where this guy came from? As well as this guy, and this guy came from?
So I don't know if you were watching my Game & Watch Collection video with me, but basically I started off the video by showing off the various different amiibo poses that my Mr. Game & Watch amiibo has, and I don't know, that probably wasn't the best way to open up a video. I probably should have said that I was reviewing Game & Watch Collection first. Like I said, this was February 24th. It's a really significant day, but I can't remember why for some reason.
Well, so did I. Apparently, he's a nameless character that was named Mr. Game & Watch because he appeared on a series of handheld games that Nintendo called Game & Watches, because it had both a game and a watch on it, because apparently they didn't make enough of these back in the 80s. And you could also set an alarm. Yay. Anywho, I managed to pick up Game & Watch Collection at Disc Replay today for only $12. I was really excited when I got this too, because I was on the verge of putting it away when I said, wait a minute, that's a Club Nintendo exclusive, isn't it? So I couldn't pass up this amazing opportunity. And now I can see why Nintendo gave it out for free, because this is the kind of game, well, collection to be more accurate, where it's the kind of thing that would sell for about 99 cents on the DSiWare eShop, and then you'll forget about it after that.
There is no DSiWare shop anymore.
So, why was it so special to be promoted in Club Nintendo, you ask? Well, I turned on the game, and I saw this big, bold Club Nintendo logo on the top screen. Cool, so far. And then I get to the menu. There are 3 games, and the option to set an alarm. I tried pressing a whole bunch of buttons to see if maybe there was some secret option or something that maybe I was missing. No, there were 3 games. Oil Panic, Greenhouse, and Donkey Kong. So I decided to try them in this order. First, I tried Oil Panic, where on the top screen you're controlling a man that's trying to grab drops of oil from a leaky pipe and then spill them out the window onto another guy who's carrying a jar so that the oil doesn't spill onto the customers below that are trying to fill up their gas tanks, and they'll yell at you. You get a point taken off of the bottom screen if you spill oil on a customer, and you get a point taken off the top screen if you let a drop spill on your fireplace and cause a fire to spread in your house. It's honestly a lot more confusing than it sounds, because you're like panicking to try to grab the oil, but you only have so much capacity, and then you have to make sure that the guy is behind you. And for the first couple of seconds, I didn't even know what I was supposed to do. It was a nice little history lesson to think, oh, so that's where that stage came from in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But other than that, I found it to be the least interesting of the 3 games. Thank goodness I played it first. Next, I decided to try Greenhouse, thinking that it would be similar to the Lion Tamer game in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Well, it turns out that that's a different game altogether. In Greenhouse, you basically take on the role of Stanley the Exterminator from Donkey Kong 3, and you have to climb up and down a ladder trying to spray bug spray at bugs that are climbing down these webs and vines trying to make flowers wilt. Yeah, one little bug can destroy a whole flower. Unlike the oil panic minigame, you only have one set of hits. Flower dies and you lose a hit. It's actually a lot more fun than it sounds.
So flowers are like Horcruxes.
Really having to
Wow.
strategize where I had to position myself because there were 4 different locations the bugs could shoot from. Then I had to prioritize, okay, should I send the spider this far up the web or should I wait until it's close enough so I can kill it? Then do I take out these 2 bugs up here with 1 squirt? It was surprisingly exhilarating. And I think that alone would be worth the price of admission. Possibly. That's kind of stretching it a bit because, again, these games have not really been updated to modern standards. Then I tried Donkey Kong, and that was by far the most cinematic, if you can call it that, for a Game & Watch title. Basically, it's an abridged version of the original Donkey Kong, where the jumping and steering controls are significantly smoother, but you don't have a hammer this time. Instead, you jump over barrels until you reach the top of the construction site, where you pull the lever, and then you go over to the swinging crane, and then you have to jump on the crane so that the crane takes you to one of the hooks that's attached to Donkey Kong's podium, and eventually once you detach all the hooks, Donkey Kong falls flat on his face, and you get a ton of points. You're probably wondering, okay, Paul, that's all fun and games, but where's the goal in all of this? Well, I seem to have a habit of buying those games, don't I? There is no goal to Game & Watch Collection. The only goal, if you could call it that, is getting as high of a score as possible. And I'm pretty sure no one in their right mind is going to want to play any of these games long enough to reach as high as the Game & Watch counter can go, which I presume is 999, because that seems to be a pattern. Nintendo games don't seem to like just 100 or 1,000. It has to have 99, 999, yay.
Super Mario 3D Land was different.
Meh, so additions to this version are you could play Game A and Game B. Game B being a slightly tougher version of the games. In the case of Donkey Kong, you have the ability to bump your head if there's a construction rail that's above you. And also, you can see the outline of every single possible frame of animation, which is both a blessing and a curse because it helped me slightly figure out what I was supposed to do in some of the more confusing games. But on the other hand, it also slightly took me out of the experience, almost as if too much stuff was happening at once. Overall, I just finished playing it a couple of minutes ago, and I don't see myself returning to it anytime soon unless I'm absolutely bored out of my mind. But I can think of several titles that are better than this. I think a lot of people are going to think that this game is more awesome than it is, merely because it tries its best to replicate the original Game & Watch days from a dual-screen perspective, and because it was a Club Nintendo exclusive, so it's kind of become somewhat of a collector's item. However, because it doesn't spruce up the graphics or sound, apart from a title theme, you're really kind of just getting some vintage Game & Watch titles on one DS cartridge and not much else. It's not a terrible game by any means, but definitely a game that you should realize that there's only like maybe 15 minutes worth of content, if you could call it that, on this, and then you'll probably be done and forget about it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.
Okay, can't think of anything wrong with that video. I mean, just giving my honest opinions, really. Thought the camera angle was good, and my hair was good, and I don't know what they expected. Like, what was I supposed to do? Lie and say, well, these games have an amazing legacy with Nintendo, so therefore we have to appreciate the technology when it came out. But that was a DS game. So if it's on the DS, they should have improved on it. Not just preserved it as it was. But then again, people like that, so maybe they thought I was being too harsh in that matter. You know, I bet a lot of these people that dislike my videos are just angry, trigger-happy people that are like, oh, he's Catholic, so let's find anything wrong with what he has to say. Well, guess what? I've seen other famous YouTubers that get way more dislikes than I do. So, I'm glad I'm not them. Okay, so far so good. The Super Mario Odyssey review without footage actually got a like. What do you know? Even I didn't like that video. I thought the audio quality was horrendously bad. Going into 2017 now. Okay, wow. All the way into my Pac-Man review. In October 2017. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really annoy me because for me, my channel is a volunteer basis. It's just more so of like, I wish I knew what I was doing wrong so that I could improve. Yeah, I know how that feels. I actually recently watched a video. I forget the name of the YouTuber. He had a really boring voice, so I guess I'm not really going to try. He made a video about LGBT representation in fiction. And while I disagreed with some of his points, I liked the way he did the video. So I didn't mention anything, of course, because when I talk about LGBT stuff, I prefer to do it here on this channel because, you can start some really big flame wars because in text, things are taken out of context a lot. But suffice to say that I didn't go along and send a bunch of hate mail comments on him. I just said in my head, like, I agree with a lot of stuff that you're saying, and I also disagree with a lot of stuff that you're saying. And I thought the video was okay. I think he repeated certain things a lot. Like, he kept playing the scene from Undertale over and over again. But apart from that, it was not bad. Not bad at all. He tried to give a nice middle ground approach to the issue. Obviously, he wasn't Catholic, so he was trying to speak from one of those overly dry, super logical, no heart types of opinions, and that's okay. Now, if someone posted a video where they're just saying every 2 seconds and you can hear the fan blowing and it's just dragging on for 30 minutes, then I can see where the dislikes would come in. Or if you're MatPat, people will just dislike the video just because he's MatPat. All right. Wow. A relationship advice video got 100% like ratio. Who would have thought that? All right, well, let's see why people hate my Pac-Man review.
Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing Pac-Man.
Whoa, what the heck happened to my voice? Oh, I must have had a different microphone back then. My voice didn't change that much in 2 years. Okay.
Played on the 3DS Virtual Console. What more is there to say about Pac-Man than has already been said? I mean, pretty much everyone knows that Pac-Man is the best-selling arcade game. We know that he made a cameo in Super Smash Bros. Recently. He's one of the most iconic video game characters in history, apart from Mario and Sonic. And his spin-offs have been much worse than his original Dot Gobbler in 1980. Not much has changed in this case. This is pretty much a straight-up handheld emulation of his arcade experience, based on NES adaptation. Honestly, I was originally going to try to beat the entire experience first before I reviewed it, since the 3DS Virtual Console introduces a restore point system where you can save literally anytime you want, and then go back to that if you make a mistake. But considering that the game has barely any story, I realized that there's not really much point because there's only one maze, and the only real difference that ever happens as you progress through the game is that the AI for the ghosts that chase you get smarter. Pac-Man has no offensive abilities. Instead, he sort of moves along in a track of inertia, like, you know the law, an object in motion will stay in motion until stopped.
Well, he is
That's
only a
Pac-Man
circle.
for you. He just continues running along that path, even if it'll walk him straight into a ghost until he hits a wall. Yeah, real great logic there, Pac-Man. I wonder if the makers of his game were goat herders. Anyway, you have to have lightning fast reflexes in this game, because a lot of times I would find that as I'm navigating the maze, my control pad wouldn't always
I gotta
register
pause
my
this.
motions in time.
Actually, people watch. There were 2 people watching it. Oh well. Hope they come back.
So a lot of times I had to learn to say which direction I was going in before I actually went there. Thankfully, the one thing Pac-Man has to his advantage are the 2 sides of the maze that you go to the other side. And you can also grab power pellets to make the ghosts turn blue, and then you can eat the ghosts to make them temporarily retreat. And also when they're blue, they tend to move slower, so it's easier to catch up to them. And they also move away from Pac-Man. Your objective is to eat all of the dots on the map. And then sometimes if you eat special fruits, you'll get more points. And if you get enough points, you get an extra life. Rinse and repeat. Not really too much variety here. Your ultimate goal, I guess, because the game doesn't have much story, is to marry Mrs. Pac-Man. But since the 2 of them don't have any legs, I'm kind of curious how that would play out. I mean, how do they hug each other? Do they just like, against each other?
Okay.
Pac-Man is a decent.
That was me making fun of those top 5 lists in Nintendo Powers where they'd talk about like I don't want to say the actual word they use, but the best looking female characters in video game. And Mrs. Pac-Man made number 1. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. She's just a circle that happens to have an open mouth. And I just, for the life of me, I could not figure out, like, what the heck was going on in that office that day. Did they, like, not get enough exercise? Because what, the hugging thing? I actually put that, if you want to see it in like a best of compilation, I made a video called The Catholic Nintendo Nerd's Favorite Moments, where I singled out that part of that review and put it as its own section because I loved it so much. Oh yeah. And then Laura Croft got on there too. Why can't there be a good looking woman on these lists that like isn't over sexualized? Like look at Luna from Zero Time Dilemma, a perfectly good-looking woman that dresses in a nice Victorian-era dress. She's one of the politest females in all of gaming, and yet people still found reason to hate her in her game of Origin. Sad.
That game on the Virtual Console. It's fun to pick up and play, and because it only has 1 level, it pretty much has both infinite and finite replay value at the same time. You can always try to hone your skills as you continue progressively avoiding the ghosts. Or you can have...
Oh, I see why people didn't like this video. The video quality is abhorrent in this. But then again, there have been other videos I've done with this same webcam that people have liked. So what is going on here?
Have a quick glimpse into what started the whole arcade trend and why Pac-Man made such a huge, like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, when he was revealed to be a playable character in Smash Brothers. And give you some incentive to buy the 3DS version, because they have an amazing stage representation of the maze that's not in the Wii U version.
Nor is it an ultimate, sadly.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until my next video, keep faith, stay epic, and God bless. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. Bye.
Humor. I like to make people laugh, but maybe I got the opposite impression. Oh, let me say goodbye to my future sister-in-law before we continue this. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Hope your
live stream's going well.
it's going pretty well with just me and one other person.
Well, that's still fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Good to see you. Enjoy the rest of your live stream.
Thank you. Yeah, you too, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Okay, back again. Wow. They stay a lot longer than I thought they would. Whew. Okay, 2017. It was a good year for me on YouTube, in my opinion. So I was really testing. See? Never mind. Super Mario 3D Land. Okay, I see where they're coming from there. Before I even watched the video, I know exactly what they're going to say. Paul, you were making fun of people that owned a 2DS. Technically, I was making fun of Nintendo for inventing the 2DS, especially when there are legit bundles that include Super Mario 3D Land with a 2DS. And people would be like, where's the 3D in there? Super Mario 64 had 3D. Well, yeah. Good evening, my friends. My heater is not on this time. What do you know? This is published September 23rd. It's my friendversary with my friend Kara. That's cool. September 23rd, 2017. We had been friends for exactly 5 years at that point. And I think it's high time I finally reviewed super high profile game. And yet I left the window open to make crickets appear. It's probably because I didn't have access to music back then. Into the 3DS called Super Mario 3D Land. I'm just going to be blunt right now. Back in 2011, when stereoscopic 3D was still like a huge deal, Super Mario 3D Land made the most of it. You could say it was like the Wii Sports of the 3DS, basically. Essentially, Nintendo ran with the concept of what if Mario side-scrollers gradually evolved into a 3D experience? As opposed to Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, yada yada, those games wanted to explore what if we took Mario into a 3D setting. Mario 3D Land was more of an experiment of taking the linear action of the Super Mario Bros. And New Super Mario Bros. Games and presenting it with Mario being able to move on a three-dimensional axis. Now, I know that sounds confusing on paper, but once you actually see the level design, you'll notice that there's a certain amount of... Alright, I'm going to stop here. I think I am going to make this a two-parter because my chest is hurting. I mean, it's been hurting all day, but the pain has gone on and off. So, if I'm going to be doing more live streaming at all, I need more actual reactions. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get myself a drink of water, and then you can type whatever you want in the comment section, whether it's, Paul, I have these questions, or, yeah, Paul, I think I'm going to head out, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I will be back in just a couple of minutes. I just realized how horrible that sounded. I'm sorry. Okay. Whew.
I do? Okay, here I am. Cool. Alright. Oh, that's cool. Well, what a clever reason to be quiet during a live stream. Why did it all of a sudden get so dark? Oh well. Oh, it's because my computer got unplugged. That's why. Okay, let's fix that right now. If I go out of focus, then I'm sorry. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, my computer got unplugged during my run to go get a... Ooh, I'm getting tired. I also got cranberry juice. All right, well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to head over to your channel right now and check it out. And then I guess I'll probably just go to sleep. Because tomorrow I have to chaperone a bunch of middle schoolers. That's going to be fun. And I have to work before that, so that's going to be fun too. So thank you very much for joining this live stream. I'm grateful that the two of us were able to have a nice, good time. Hope the other guy or girl, whoever he was, wasn't turned off too much. I'll wait for you to say a proper goodbye before I officially end the stream. I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh, bye. Yes, I know a guy like that, believe it or not. Yeah, no problem. All right, well. Nice catch there. I might have to pin that to future live streams. All right, well, thanks a lot, and you enjoy your night. With that, live stream is now concluding. You all, one person, have a blessed day. Bye.